until 11:53.
Okay. Hey, everybody. Welcome to As the World Burns. This is our debut podcast today, and I have Mike Sears on. I'm JL Folk. Mike Sears we just had him on just a little while ago on the Book Asylum podcast for his debut. We did a release party and all this other stuff and had him on, and it was a lot of fun. He put out his first book, and then all of a sudden I see he's got three on Amazon that have been published and a fourth from what he was telling me at the editor. So he has been busy, y'all. So Mike, welcome. Thank you so much for coming.
Glad
And
to be here.
I appreciate you taking time out of your day. So, how did you get so far so fast?
Well, basically, I had already got that far, almost. Of course, we this and I had already had the books finished before I ever submitted them to Angry Eagle Publishing.
Hmm.
So I had originally intended to be one big book, but after talking to Deb Cooper, which by the way is phenomenal if you ever need something published, uh, I talked to her and we split it up into three different books and we released them fairly quick. Two books was released pretty much at the same time.
Right.
Then the third one was released March 12th.
Okay, so give us a rundown on the names of them and kind of what's going on with them. Start with book one,
Okay, my
obviously.
first book. This is the only one I have a copy of. So far. I
Hmm.
haven't ordered, hadn't got copies. This here is the Invasion American series, Remnant, a Child's Story. If y'all can, here I'll get it where the center here.
Nice.
It's
And
not.
she did
Oh
those
yeah,
covers, right?
yeah, yeah. Angry Eagle's done my covers, my editing, and everything. She's done a phenomenal job. What I basically did send her a picture of me when I was 10 years old, and she went with it.
Wow.
Well, I had some kids as I was going on, but I was going to have to get permission from parents and all this stuff.
Right.
Because basically everybody in my book, almost every character in my book is a real kid
Oh,
uh,
okay.
that I based on. But anyway, I got it started. My second book is Resistance,
Hmm.
same series, and my third book is Reckoning. The third book, of course, just come out March 12th. Um, I'm excited. I mean, ever since we started this. I mean, it's been a whirlwind. I mean,
Yeah.
um, I have
Now
kids.
this isn't like a zombie thing. This is
No,
actually a real life scenario that could possibly happen. This
yes,
is because this show is based on dystopian post-apocalyptic. So that could be anything from EMP to natural disaster to, the bomb to zombies to, some kind of pandemic. So we do it all here on this show. But what is yours? What's the main gist behind yours? What's your natural disaster
my
or what
main
have you?
gist was my books. Originally, I intended my books to be for the 10 to 15-year-old, but I found that since I've got them released, most of my best uh, fans are adults. But anyway,
Nice.
uh, my book is the apocalypse or invasion of America by a foreign country on a child's eyes.
Okay.
Of course, I have my character starts when he was 10 years old, and then it works up until he's 15
And
along on the books.
he has an interesting name.
Possum.
Possum.
How I come up with this is when I was in the Army, I had a drill sergeant. Hopefully, he's going to, Mitch Simmons. Hopefully, he'll be listening to the podcast. Uh, my first day, he was sitting there with the brim of his drill sergeant hat right against my forehead. Could quit grinning like a possum boy. Well, call signs in the military usually starts out as something very derogatory
Yeah.
and end up sticking with you. So that name stuck with me. So when I was making my name for the book, I said, "Hey, I'm just going to go for possum."
That
And
is
because
cool.
basically, this little boy, he thinks that's his name. He don't even know his real name because
Oh,
he his parents moved him off grid when he was a baby.
okay.
and he is. I mean, he spent the first 10 years of his life living perfect. What a perfect boy should be doing. He's homeschooled. He's eating a couple hours a day. He fished, goes hunting. You know, just rides his horse. Total immersed into nature.
Right.
So,
Not
and
worried about running the
not worried
streets
about
or
nothing.
anything like that.
Of
That's
course,
awesome.
and he's got a second, like a sixth sense too, with everything in the forest. He's kind of a part of the forest, because that's part of the book too.
Right. Well, I mean, I would assume he'd be a nature boy.
Hmm.
Being off grid, you
Hmm.
tend to know, because some people can gauge the streets and how things are, how their neighborhood is reacting to certain things. They can gauge that because that's where they've lived. And I would
Hmm.
imagine that, with a kid who's lived off grid his whole life, that he would be able to understand and gauge nature. And it seems like that just goes hand in hand. I really like that. So your second book is what now?
Second book is Resistance. He's like about a year later. He has had a little change in scenery. It's the first book is basically in Everglades of Florida, that area. The next book is Kentucky, right where I live. A lot
Okay.
of it's settled between the lakes, which is a national recreation center.
Uh-huh.
Most of it's sitting there, and he's actually gone a little bit further. Uh, we have a military base set up here, and they find out he's got all these skills that he has used in in the first book, and they put
Right.
him to sabotaging enemy installations, because he's so little he can get into places that grown-ups can't.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And that's the second book, the basic gist. Like I said, I want everybody to read it. I'm going to tell you a whole lot about it. I'll
No,
tell
I
you
don't
enough.
want you to tell us everything. Just no
Uh,
spoilers.
Third book, he's grown a few years. He's moved back to Florida, and it's based in Florida and Kentucky. He meets up with some of his. He's got new friends. He meets up with some of his old friends, and he has learned to be a pilot. Well, I call it a helicopter. It's the aircraft that I envisioned on here is a lot different than a helicopter, but the only thing we had to put on the cover was helicopter, so that's kind of what I went with. But he's learned
Okay.
to fly aircraft, and
At 12?
he's 15 now.
Well, geez, still. He
Well,
doesn't
because
all his neurons ain't even connected up in his
well,
head.
in my post-apocalyptic, there's not very many people. We've got like a 98% kill off
Oh. Oh
of
my.
American people, and
Okay.
they have to have anybody they can get
Right.
to to try to run the Chinese out of the country.
Okay. So we know who. We know who invaded. And is it this, so this is just pretty much an American base. This only happened here. It's not like it's
Yeah.
worldwide.
Yes, it's just in America.
Okay. So China didn't invade anybody else.
No,
Okay.
not yet. That
Are
might
they
come later.
are you kind of like bringing in other countries that are helping China or helping us? Have you
Uh,
thought that far? Or is it just
there
the Chinese
is,
and their million men march?
yeah, there is some reference to the British helping us a little bit. China's not help. I don't have any other country but China in this.
Okay.
There's some reference to some foreign aid coming into the U.S. to help us out,
Okay.
but
All
it's
right.
just reference. I don't have
Was it based on today's climate?
some of it.
A little bit.
Yeah, a little
Okay.
bit.
All right.
It's
All right.
mainly based on my wild imagination. Uh, well, in our last podcast, I told you most of my all these books that I've written are dreams that I've had.
Uh-huh.
Everything I write is something that it gets stuck in my head from a dream,
Right.
and I hope this is just a dream, not a premonition.
So how much research have you done as far as whether it was research in the country for, how the Chinese military would act, or did you do any research with prepping, homesteading, stuff like that?
Well, the homesteading stuff I know because I've pretty much been feral since I was little. Uh, that's pretty much the way I was raised. wasn't homeschooled, unfortunately, but I've done, of course, a lot of the military stuff I know from because I was military. I did do research into some of the Chinese tactics and things that they do. Uh, I did research, of course, the geography, which anybody that reads it when they look at Florida, I admit this is I got MapQuest and Google book maps out. Just
Oh my
looked at
God, you said
topographical maps.
MapQuest. I don't think the kids know what MapQuest is.
Oh, okay, but I use mostly Google Maps to look at these areas and some of the things. And I'm gonna say there's probably hills and mountains in my first book that don't exist. But now when I did move my character up to Land Between the Lakes, I pretty much went over and looked at all these places. So if I rented a place at Land Between the Lakes, I've stood there
Right.
and,
So
envisioned.
you did take some liberties, some creative liberties, but you tried to keep it
Yeah,
as realistic as possible. Is that what I'm
I,
gathering?
yeah, basically 90-10, 10% really realistic, 90% out the over out the out of my.
I was just talking about the places that you have
Oh yeah,
labeled in your
places.
book.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Well, creative liberties in the Florida, but I did a lot more research here in Kentucky.
Florida takes their own creative liberties as it is.
Yeah.
They're a weird group of people.
Oh yeah. I have a
But
little money.
yeah. So did you ever live in Florida? Is that why you chose Florida, or
No,
what was your
I just
reason for
picked.
choosing Florida?
Reason I chose Florida because my idea of the book was like that was my dream, really. But I wanted a place where the Chinese could have been stopped and contained. So basically, in my book, they are contained at the Everglades. The Seminole militia pretty much stops them. They blow all the bridges, and they can't go any further. So they're pretty much contained. So
Okay.
that's where Possum is stuck.
Oh, okay. All right. So is this going to be like a million-year war that you're going to keep going on, or are the players going to change up in your books? Because I know you said
In
you
my
wanted to just keep going.
my last book had pretty much ended the war, but then he has another situation come up. The Chinese have hired a Russian tracker assassin to take him out,
Okay, so
and
now it's just a
a lot
different
of last
avenue.
yeah last a lot of the last book, not all of it, a lot of it, he is fighting this guy, which is a kid too, which and based on a real kid. When I do some of my book signings, it's Leland Gray is the name of the assassin. He's a Russian American 15-year-old that's like psychic when it comes to the woods, and one of the best trackers in the world. So when I do my my book signings, the real Leland Gray is going to be with me.
Oh,
uh,
nice. That's cool.
yeah, all my kids, like I said, all these characters are based on kids. When I do
Hmm.
book signings, I'm gonna hire these kids to help me sign books and stuff. But I lost track of my brain. But
You
anyway,
were telling
that's
me
kind of what.
about the assassin being a
Yeah,
15-year-old Russian,
yeah,
Russian kid who is real in real life, but he's going
mhm,
after. But the war is pretty between China and
yeah,
America is over. This is just
yes,
something else. It's like a black ops
yeah,
mission that they're doing.
yeah. About half of the last book is the war is pretty much over and a stalemate. They are, you know, but this guy, he is really wanting to kill possum,
Uh huh.
and it's a lot about they're hunting each other in the Everglades and Land Between the Lakes too. So
Sounds like Possum has pissed a few people off.
yes, he has. And I will be honest, when I wrote these, I did not plan a part four. But I have children and adults both accosting me on the street, threatening me with bodily harm if I do not do it. Because I've got people calling me saying, mad at me because I left too many cliffhangers at the end of my books.
Ah, yeah.
So the
Well,
third one
that'll
I
just
finished it off.
tell them,
Yeah,
hey, you got to buy the
yeah,
next book to figure it out.
yeah. The third one I left where I could go forward or not.
Hmm.
Uh, oh, I was looking at my horse is limping. I got to go out and work on her. But anyway, I left it where it could go forward or not. But
Okay.
like I said, I went to the library the other day and got attacked by my little adventure book club, which I might mention that later. And all these kids are mad snakes because they want more.
Yeah. Well,
They
that's
want me.
great. That's great.
Because
Sounds
that's the
like you
reason I
have
wrote
a
these books.
what's that?
I said these are the reason I wrote these books in the first place.
Yeah.
I run it's an adventure book club through our local library.
Hmm.
Uh, we got it's on a federal drug abuse and drug prevention grant because most of the kids that I deal with don't have their parents are incarcerated,
Okay.
and this is basically something to get them interested in. One
Right.
fourth of our children in the state of Kentucky have one or both parents incarcerated.
Wow. That's a
And
lot.
so I'm kind of working towards that. But I got idea and story actually come. I do campouts with these kids. I take them out and make them survive a weekend.
Hmm.
What in their packs. I'll give them a call like on a Thursday. I say we're bugging out tomorrow at 3 o'clock. Get your packs. They get a certain spot, and we spend the weekend.
Wow. So you
And
do a lot in your community with the kids.
and so basically, what happened? I started telling these campfire stories that were dreams of mine. And these kids, dude, you need to publish this. And I said, no, it ain't worth it. Well, AJ Newman, I don't mention him yet or not. I've become friends with him on Facebook because I loved his books so much. And he told me to send me some of my work. I sent him a couple of chapters, and he come back and said, "Man, you need to publish this." And he mentored me so much. I mean, he's the one that got me through
Yeah.
this. And then he introduced me to DJ Cooper, Angry Eagle, and she got me publishing.
Yep.
And it's been a whirlwind. I mean, all of a sudden, I went from nothing to 3 books published and one on the way at some point in time.
Yeah. She is an amazing person. We're both published under DJ Cooper and owner of Angry Eagle Publishing and the Word Peddler, owner of this podcast as well. Um, she is amazing. Let me just tell you. If you ever have any questions or anything, definitely check out her website,
Oh yeah,
angryeaglepublishing.com. Everything is set up there to tell you basically what she wants you to do, how to do it, what's going to happen next, everything. You should have no questions after you
there
read
was
her
one night.
website.
Yeah, there was one night I was so flustered and screaming, trying to talk to her on on text messages, and finally I just screamed and said, "Call me, please." And we spent about 2 hours on the phone. She's
Yeah.
explaining. I mean, she's so knowledgeable about this.
She's knowledgeable, she's very reachable, she's a down
Yeah.
to earth human being. She also authors,
Oh
she
yes.
has a ton of books out, so she understands the pressure that and the garbage that we have to go through as
Mhm.
authors. So I think it's wonderful that you are taking that step and that the kids are so receptive. That is the best part, that
Mhm.
the kids that you wrote these books for, that were your original listening audience, that
Mhm.
they're so receptive to your stories, and their parents and people in your community are backing you up. I think that's amazing.
Oh
So
yeah.
it's and do you have yours in the local library, right?
Oh yeah, I've got the first one in there. I still hadn't got it set up where I can purchase copies for other. I mean, the one I bought was full price I mean, from Amazon because I got to get it set
Well,
up where I can get some.
we'll
But
talk we'll talk about that after
well,
this, okay?
well,
So,
kind of what the situation is. I've started a new career. I retired in 2022 as a parole officer,
mhm.
and I've sat around the house for 2 years. Well, I taught in the school system, which turned me against the public school system a lot more. Uh, for the 2 years, then they've been begging me so much to go back to work at the local state correctional facility. So I've gone back there and I've just finished the academy. That's one of the reasons I'm so far behind in my books. And
Yeah,
I just started work this past week,
life
which,
gets in the way
yeah.
every
Hey,
time.
if any of y'all live in Kentucky, if you want a good job, y'all, Kentucky Department of Corrections, awesome.
Yeah, CO is definitely a good job with very minimal education because they train you, and
And they have
it's
raised our pay so much.
yeah, they
We
really
still can't
have.
get nowhere to work, but
But
it's a,
there you go.
yeah, I know
Shout
you've done
out to
corrections before.
Kentucky DOC.
Well, you've done corrections before. It's a special kind of human that can be a correctional officer.
Yeah, not just anybody can do it.
Yeah.
So, but what do you do when you're not working or writing? What kind of things do you like to do?
Which I have my kids group. I have uh 10 great nephews and nieces and one on the way. The one on the way, by the way, her name's going to be Edie, but I'm calling her L because she's number 11. Uh, Farm. I hike. I'm getting ready to get back into fishing. Spend some time with my son. My son's 30. My daughter's 23. My son lives right next to me. We live on land that been our family for 200 years, and we all like have our own little compound here.
That's
You know,
cool. That's what I want.
yeah, I can remember going to my great grandfather's house. I would play sick from school because they lived like 1800s people,
Yeah.
and that's where a lot of mine got started. Uh,
I've become very much the yes, let's live off grid kind of gal
mhm,
since I've gotten older and have been disenfranchised by a lot of different things out there in the world right now.
yeah,
So do you guys have like the solar panels? Are you
no,
self-sufficient or are you
no, I'm not.
just you're halfway?
I'm I am sufficient that enough that if we had problems, because we have had problems like uh, we had a tornado come through here a while back. We'd lost power for a while. We've had some ice storms. Actually, we had an ice storm back when my kids was little, and we spent 2 weeks without electricity and didn't miss a lick. 'Cause we don't even use electricity, and they're not. I've got a set. We don't have to have it. The following year, my daughter, who I think was 5 at the time, says, "Daddy, are we going to have an ice storm this winter? I really like that."
She loved it, huh?
Yeah, I mean, so I've set up where I can live with extended period of time. Back in 2014, I developed. I had terminal non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Well, God's got a sense of humor, so he said, "Hi, it ain't terminal. You still got a job to do on this earth." But we went three
You're
months
like,
without going to the
dang
grocery
it.
store. You know, we went 3 months without going to the grocery store because times were so hard.
Wow.
So that's basically how I live. But I have my electricity. I've got my computer, which I don't know much about running. I mean, I'm not one of these that want to go back to the Stone Age. I love my modern conveniences, but I
I
can go
love them
without.
too. But you know what? If I have to do without them, I'll be okay. I will be just fine. I've got books. That's I guess one thing I would love to go live in a library if shit hit the fan. That would be my safe
I
space
have a
because you
little
can learn
library.
everything.
Yeah, I've got a little library that I set up of you know basics. Well, if you want some good information, this might be a little off the books list, but if you want good information, go to your local county extension office. Every county and every state of the nation has one. They've got phenomenal resources, free
Yeah.
resources.
Well, that's
But
libraries in general.
but it's they have a library of everything agriculture, but they do a lot. I've got a book I think somewhere up here of wild recipe cards for wild game that was published by the University of Kentucky Extension
Hmm.
Service. But there's resources out there. You don't have to go out there and spend a lot of money like some of these people do.
Yeah, a lot of people think you got to spend a ton of money, and I mean, I guess if you're starting from scratch, because like I will be. Are you So did you have to do a ton of research for that part of your book? Did you even put in a ton of prepping or I mean, I assume
I
at the
started put
beginning you would.
well, I started putting a lot in it, and then some of my mentors that I had talked to, some of my kiddos, because my kiddos pretty much edited my book before I sent it to Angry Eagle. And they come back and say, "I love your writing, but you got too much technical stuff in there. We don't want technical stuff. We want action." So I
Yeah,
went
the
back and
kids
put
don't
some,
care about that. I mean, the
yeah,
technical would be more for like adults where we're like,
yeah.
how did he get that?
Well, one of mine, I'll show you. One of my toys I like to play with, a blowgun.
Yeah.
And one of them, I'm detailed instructions on how to make a blowgun and darts. Well, the kids come back and said, "Oh, we don't want to know that. But you done taught
Hmm.
us that. We don't want to know." But I had to go back and edit out a lot of my detailed stuff, but I put enough in there that if people want to get some interest.
Okay.
Of course, the
So,
book that warped my mind to start with back when I was 7 years old is My Side of the Mountain. If you haven't
Oh,
read it,
uh-uh.
by
No.
Gene Craighead George. And it's basically about a little boy that lives in the city. He tells his mom and daddy, "Hey, I'm going to go live in the woods." They laugh at him, so go ahead, and they don't see him for over a year. But if you have kids that you want to warp their mind, put that in there, and it's almost a how-to manual.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Um, oops. Sorry. I had gotten a message. It was about doing a video. Sorry.
Okay.
But so you didn't really do a whole lot because you knew quite a bit. And you pulled out some of the technical stuff, the more technical things. Have you thought about writing a prepper book in like kind of like a possum's how-to guide?
Well, I haven't until you just mentioned this.
You're welcome.
Uh, yeah. Thank you. I will
It
put
could
you
be
in the.
like a companion. It can be a companion thing, a companion
Yeah.
manual.
I just thought about that because how to make a blowgun or
Yeah.
how to
And
make
then
snares
then the
and
kids can you make it, you write it in easy enough terms that the kids can, it can be for anybody.
Thank you. Well,
You're
you just give me
welcome.
an idea. Yeah.
I got the ideas, I just don't put them down.
Yeah. Well, if I don't
So
write my ideas
now
down,
I'll
they
be
go.
looking for that book.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think that would be, to me, it would go hand in hand with just,
Yeah.
yeah, but you can use your character Possum as if
Yeah.
he was telling other kids, okay, this is how you do that. A training manual for other
Yeah.
children.
Yeah.
You're out there on your own, blah, blah, blah.
One of my last kid camp out, I had one of my kids had the John Wayne Survival Handbook.
Oh, that's funny.
That was pretty cool. He was so proud of it. And he's
And
one of my
see,
kids. Yeah, he's one of my kids that doesn't have a daddy.
yeah,
Well, he has a one, but not a dad. He has a father that's in prison, but not a daddy. And how he
right.
was so proud of that. But
Aw,
yeah, if you reach out to kids, it's phenomenal. Some of them.
that's
In
cool.
2018, I had two of my kids I mentored brought me to daddy's stash of crystal meth to the house. So that's kind
How
of what
nice.
my house become a crime store scene. But
Whoops.
yeah, but I was so proud of them because
Oh,
they were so tore up. They didn't know what to do. And they knew this was wrong because of what I had
yeah.
taught them. And it was interesting.
Wow.
They ended up going to
That's
post the curbs. It was over with. But
you're the second interview that I've had in the last week or two that is someone who's dealt with children, who deals with children in a correctional setting or
yeah,
in general. Because I know you're not a juvenile detention officer, you're an
no,
adult a detention officer. But I had a juvenile detention officer, well, not an officer, he was a teacher. He was an English teacher at a
mhm,
juvenile detention
yeah,
center. So, you and him have a lot in common, and
I have.
it's interesting how these you got stories for days, I bet.
If he's watching, or you can tell him I have the utmost respect for him. That's a job I couldn't do
That's what
because
I told him. I said, I'll deal
uh,
with adults. I will not deal with kids.
I would have them all brought home with me. I mean, because I get so attached to kids,
Hmm.
and mentoring and stuff because they have a lot more imagination than adults do. But
And
you know,
hope. There's at least still some
mhm,
hope with
there's still
them,
some hope.
with kids.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So, are you going to keep with this series? Is Possum going to be your main guy? Or are
Not
you,
that.
like kind of write about him as he's growing? Or are you going to
Yeah.
move on and do something else?
Well, I have moved on and done something else now because Possum. I had originally intended Possum to be at the end of the trilogy.
Yeah.
But like I said, I think I mentioned a while ago, I have so many people are screaming at me to do more. There will be more, but it might be a while. My
Right.
fourth book is not actually dystopian. It is a historical fiction
Okay.
that is still kids, and I'm gonna put a little plug in, but it's not dystopian. I won't do too much. My great grandfather times six is the one who settled the land I lived on.
Okay.
He was a 13-year-old little boy that in around May of 1780, he ran away from home and joined up with the stuff with the swamp fox, Francis Marion. If people out there is listening don't know what that is, watch the movie The Patriot with Mel Gibson, and you'll get to know he fought almost 2 years of his life in the backwoods of South Carolina as a guerrilla warfare at the age of adult age of 13. I
Wow.
have his records. And I put it to a. I did some heavy research on it. This book took a while, and it's at the editors right now. What I'm working on right now, actually, I had some other dystopian books I worked out, but about 2 weeks ago, I got hit with this dream that just blowing my head up every
Uh-huh.
night still. And it's basically kind of far fetched. It's a dystopian, fantasy, and sci-fi all into one. I
Oh,
have a
cool.
child. I have a child who is a 13-year-old. He's not a bad kid, but he gets in trouble a lot.
Hmm.
He's very anti-authority when he has authority that are
Oh, sounds
abusive.
like my husband.
Yeah, kind of like me too. Uh, kind of and he never gets caught,
Yeah. Yep.
but he
Sounds like,
finally
yep.
comes to a head. He gets caught putting the dog turd in a teacher's chair.
That
Uh,
sounds like something exactly my husband would
yeah,
do. It's not
uh,
illegal, but it's just enough to be annoying. And it's,
yeah,
yes, yes.
and it makes references to turning crickets loose in the principal's office. Of course, these are
Okay.
things that I won't just confirm or deny, but I know it has been done. Uh,
Sounds like you
but
may be speaking from experience there, sir.
yeah, but anyway, he finally gets caught. He's coming home from soccer practice, riding the backseat of his mom's car, and he's being a total turd of a 13-year-old. Bouncing his ball around, cussing, carrying on. He's not.
Shame.
And his mom's distracted, and they get T-boned by an 18-wheeler.
Oh,
Mom is killed.
oh, no.
He's
Come
sort of
on, man.
killed. Of course, he's in there. He's been in the hospital on life support, and the doctors, with approval of his parent or his dad, extract his soul and put him into an android.
Okay.
So, are you
Okay.
hooked yet?
Interesting. There's the
Uh,
sci-fi. I I am. I
so
am.
it goes a little bit further. His best friend and his best friend's sister, which is also his girlfriend, are the only ones outside of his immediate family that knows what he is. He's going through still a turd. Uh, but one afternoon, something happens that the whole world finds out what he is, and he runs off. And
Oh.
him and his best friend are very much backwoods. Just
Mhm.
they have been playing into the world since they were teeny tiny,
Right.
and they have a retreat, survival retreat backwoods. So he runs his retreat, and being an android, he's so tore up he puts himself into self-sleep mode,
Okay.
and he wakes up Yosemite National Park, which many people, if you know, is
Mhm.
basically a giant time bomb just waiting.
Oh yeah.
It will
Yes, it
probably be,
is.
it will probably be a mass extinction event when it goes up.
Yes, it will
Well,
be.
anyway, it goes up, and his parents and his friend's parents and his girlfriend gets captured by FEMA. Well, basically UN troops are sent into the United States to assist. They end
Ugh.
up pretty much taken up. Parents and everybody gets taken to a FEMA camp, and him and his best friend have to go find them and rescue them.
Oh, I am hooked. You just added to my TBR list. Thank you very much. That's
So
already like
it will
18 feet
probably be a
long.
few months before I get that one going because with my job and everything,
Oh
and
yeah.
I'm still dreaming.
Yeah. Well,
Uh,
do you take when you because I know you're only allowed certain things on the floor. Do you take
yeah,
at least a pen and paper with you so you can jot shit down?
uh,
Shame.
maybe.
Shame.
That is against Kentucky policies and procedures. So I'll put it that way.
To have pen and paper?
You have pen and paper, but to actually sit there and jot it down, that would be on the fine line. So I'm just saying, if anybody in
Got it.
Kentucky,
Got
anybody
it.
is, that is,
It's
no, I'm
against
not
the
doing that.
rules. So no, we
That's
don't do
against the
that.
rules.
We don't do that. Got it. Okay.
But
Oh,
notes might get jotted down, but there's no writing going on. But notes might get jotted down.
right, right,
I had a dream
right.
last night about a, a, a creature. It's basically it's a mutated mole that's venomous. That
Do you write these down after you
well,
when you wake
yeah, I
up?
write these down. If I don't, I'll forget them.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
have a
you
dream
have
and I
so
wake
you
up
have
and I
like a
write it.
dream journal
Yeah,
kind of a
I sit
thing.
down and jot it out. Well, I got a pile of paper, scrap paper that I've wrote these down
Oh
because if
God,
I
trying
don't,
to
I'll
make heads
forget
or
it quick.
tails of that, I would crap myself.
Yeah,
So this is what's next. You're gonna cross genres, kind of, sorta, but not really,
yeah,
because it's still dystopian,
yeah.
but
Still just talking.
it's kind of touching into sci-fi because of the android aspect
Yeah,
and the consciousness getting put into an android aspect. I like
yeah.
that. That's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really excited to hear that. You're gonna have to let us know when you have a book release on that. We can do
Oh,
another
yeah.
book release party for you.
And
Um,
that will probably be my next release after the one I've got because I've got about three others that I've started and
uh-huh.
dreams that I started and worked on, and they kind of fell by the wayside a little bit.
So are you one of those that only works on one project at a time, or are you like
I've
me
got
that has like six?
I've got about five or six right now
Okay. All right.
that I've started, and I mean I've got one that's about halfway completed. That's
Yeah.
another one that crosses genres. It's post-apocalyptic. It's about a group of kids that are switches universes. One kid is in a universe. Starts out in a universe that's basically early 1800s, and he gets killed, and his soul is transferred into the forest, and he's a forest spirit. The next group that he makes contact with is like 100 years in the future, after the world is destroyed in a nuclear apocalypse.
So are you talking time jump or are you talking alternate
I'm talking
realities?
alternate universes.
Okay.
They're traveling because basically what happens in this one is this little 6-year-old kid gets turned into a forest spirit. His job is to, instead of going to heaven, he's put into the forest, and
Right.
these supernatural beings in his reality has made him be the guardian of all the children that come to the forest.
Okay.
So, and he switches universes to help all these. Well, my two characters are 100 years past the uh, end of the world is put into a nuclear apocalypse. And 100 years in the future, they are being
Hmm.
chased by outlaws, and he helps them by putting them into another reality.
Okay, so he
But
just
they've
tosses
got to,
them in a different reality.
but they've got to travel through multiple realities to get back to theirs.
So
And
what kind of scientific research are you doing on that?
uh, books that I've read for the last 50 years or 50 plus years.
So are we talking like quantum physics or are we just talking
Quantum
about
physics,
time dilation or are the many
probably
words
quantum
worlds
physics.
theory or string theory, because there's a
You
ton
know,
of these theories that are out
it's
there.
basically quantum physics. There's different timelines, different universes. It might be everything happens, looks like it might be some part of our history to such extent. Some of them are like, knights and, uh, you know, orcs and all that kind of,
Uh-huh.
stuff, different species that have evolved in their timeline. But it's basically quantum physics.
Okay. All
I
right.
know I'm a weird person.
No, I'm doing the same because I have a story that is a sci-fi where aliens are like killing
Hmm.
off humans and all in the many worlds theory where they
Hmm.
jump alternate realities.
Hmm.
And the one that I'm writing in, the girl can sense them. So I've
Hmm.
had to do some research on, okay, how can I make this believable that particles can, time,
Hmm.
it's not what's the difference between jumping time versus
Hmm.
the many worlds theory versus the string theory versus how do I know that this is possible because they weren't here, it's just I have to be able to explain all that in my book because
Hmm.
I'm not geared towards kids, so I need
Hmm.
to make sure that I explain everything.
Hmm.
So that's why I guess, is this gonna be geared towards kids or is this an adult
Yes,
post-apocalyptic?
it's about everything I do is geared
You're
towards
a
kids.
you're a YA author and
Yeah, and
that's
then the
it.
one I just explained about about the little boy that's a turd. It might be a little above some kids because I am used a little language and some scenes that I will.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I will not say any major bad language, but he's got some say some basic bad words like shit and stuff like that.
Well, I
But
will have you know
I
the
won't drop.
PG guidelines have changed since we were
Uh,
kids. So
I will not drop. I will never drop an f bomb in my book, any of my books, whether it's adult,
don't read
anything.
mine because mine have F bombs all over the
I won't
place.
do that. I don't want to write something that people. Which my dad has become one of my biggest fans.
Uh-huh.
Probably hadn't read a book in 50 years.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to write something that I would be ashamed for him to read.
Right. Well, that's cool. That's great. So we can expect to see you around for a long time because it sounds like
Hmm.
you're really loving it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
That's
I mean, it's blown my mind.
that's awesome. I'm really glad to have been able to talk to you again today.
Hmm.
We're gonna cut it for the day, and then if when you have your next one that comes out, please let me know. We'll do a release party for you. But as for today, for As the World Burns, I'm JL Folk. We talked to Mike Sears. And Mike, where can people find you? Can we find you on Amazon and Facebook?
Facebook, Amazon is where my books are sold.
Mm-hmm.
I have, I have paperbacks and I also have Kindle. I have a author page. You can, if you want to send me a friend's request, I'll add you to it. I don't have a website yet because I am technologically deficient. I'm gonna have to get some help with that.
We're gonna work on that. We are going to
Um,
work on that. But for if they want a signed copy,
I haven't got that set up yet. I will set that up in the future.
but they can pretty much message you and you can take care of that for them, right? Or
Not yet. I'm
oh,
working on that.
okay, all right.
Like I said, I'm
So
still learning so much with my new job. I'm still learning. I will get that set up at some point because I'm gonna have to get with Deb and see what is involved in that.
no
I'm getting
problem.
ready.
Actually when we get off here, I'll give you a little insight. So
Okay.
all right,
Well,
everybody, thank you for
goodbye.
watching. Thank you for watching the debut of As the World Burns. I'm JL Folk, and we'll see you next time every Thursday at 1 Central.